Hey guys, welcome to the garden. My name is Lindsay and today we are going to be talking about potting soils. Now I took a trip to Dollar General today and bought 4 bags of potting soil. They had a few different types of potting soil. They were all the same brand. They're all this True Living Outdoors brand. But they had a few different types of potting soil, and so I wanted to just see what the difference was. They have some kind of confusing language on the bags themselves, so I went ahead, I bought 1 bag of each. So yeah, we're gonna go through these 4 bags and kind of see what they look like on the inside. I also have a bag of my ProMix here. This is what I use for seed starting and like up potting my vegetable and flower seedlings that I grow from seed. I always use ProMix. I love ProMix. It is relatively reasonably priced for what it is. It is an organic potting mix. It does have a pretty nice mixture to it. I have an open bag here that I can show you as well, kind of what it looks like compared to these 4 Dollar General bags. So let's dig in to these bags. So these are the 4 bags that I ended up with. We have all-purpose potting soil. I think this was the cheapest, at $3.50 a bag. And these bags are 14 quarts, 15.42 liters. And then we have professional potting mix with fertilizer. Again, it's 14 quarts. And then we have container mix with moisture minder and fertilizer. Again, 14 quarts. And we have this seed starting potting mix. And this one is 6 dry quarts. Now compared to those bags, the ProMix is 1 cubic foot that I buy. You can also buy in a 2 cubic foot kind of compressed cube. I buy the 1 cubic foot bags and they are 28 liters. So you're getting about double if you buy a 1 cubic foot bag of potting soil. Now you may not need 1 cubic foot of potting soil. In that case, look for a smaller bag. But if you're like me and you go through quite a bit of potting soil in a season, these may not be for you, but we're gonna open them up and see kind of what the makeup of these bags are. I'm gonna kind of read the back and see what's in them. Okay, so the first one we're gonna look at is just the all-purpose potting soil. This says, specially blended for indoor and outdoor containers and pots. And then it says, all-purpose, ideal for repotting plants for all indoor and outdoor plants on the front. On the back, okay, it does have some ingredients listed here on the back. It says this product is regionally formulated from the following: processed forest products, processed pine bark, Canadian sphagnum peat moss, reed sedge peat, and sand and or composted rice hulls, perlite, and limestone as a pH adjuster. So that's interesting. And then it also says in Georgia and California it has different ingredients. Interesting. Okay, so let's open this up and we're gonna see what it looks like. Now, they do also sell Miracle-Gro potting soil, Scott's potting soil, and Schultz potting soils at the Dollar General that I went to. Now, I don't know if that's like a nationwide thing, but those bags were more expensive. The Scott's one in particular was maybe slightly larger than these bags, but it was $8. And so I really wanted to see what the cheap potting soil looked like compared to the ProMix. So on first impressions, this does not look too bad. This is what it looks like. It's pretty fluffy. There is some perlite in there. There's a big stick in here. So here's a handful. It doesn't really look too bad. Maybe a little woody. It has quite a bit of bark in it and some larger pieces. So I I don't know that I would start seeds in this, but assuming you were transplanting plants, this might be okay. This might be okay. And for $3.50 a bag, especially if you did not need very much of it. Okay, I just found, this is one piece of bark I found in here. It does say ideal for repotting plants on here, and I would agree with that. I don't know that I would use this for seed starting. I think it might be a little too woody. I think the bark might be a little bit too big for seed starting in particular, but for repotting stuff, I don't see any reason not to use this if you do not need just a ton of potting soil, because realistically, this is half the size of one of my ProMix bags, and I pay $7 for a bag of ProMix at Menards. Now, that price may vary where you are. If you can't get ProMix for $7, then maybe you buy 2 of these if you're repotting. But to me, I would rather just buy the ProMix because I'm gonna get double the amount without having to buy 2 bags of it. So, for reference, this is a bag that I had in the greenhouse, and so it's already been opened. But this is what ProMix looks like. It's very fine. It has a lot of cocoa coir in it, and so that tends to add to that fine texture. It does have perlite, it does have mulch, wood mulch in it, but mostly it's a lot of cocoa coir, and that makes it really light and fluffy and perfect for seed starting. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear that I'm not being paid by anyone to make this video. I'm not being paid by ProMix. I wish I was. But I just really like ProMix for seed starting in particular. And when it comes to like my flowers that I plant in pots and filling containers, I will buy the cheap stuff. I mean, when I filled my raised beds that I built, I literally bought the cheapest topsoil and compost that Rural King offered and filled with those. I'm not going to use ProMix to fill a garden bed because that would not be the right use for that, for one thing, but also it would be insanely expensive to fill that many raised beds in that much space with ProMix potting soil or even garden soil. They do make like a raised bed soil, but I don't have that kind of budget. So we are doing what we can with what we have. And if that includes shopping at Dollar General for your potting mix, there's nothing wrong with that. I will actually use all this potting mix. So let's move on to this next one, is the professional potting mix with fertilizer. Now, I don't know what that means. So it says feeds up to 4 months for seed starting and for all indoor and outdoor plants. So again, this is 14 quarts. It does have a 10-8-6 fertilizer in it, so that's not bad. Oh no, it's 0.10, 0.08, 0.06. Sorry, I can't read. What is this made of? Processed pine bark, reed sedge peat, processed forest products, and or composted rice hulls, Canadian sphagnum peat moss, perlite, limestone, a wetting agent, and controlled release fertilizer. So what, I don't know what the wetting agent is, but we're gonna find out, hopefully. So upon opening this bag, it smells, not bad, but it definitely smells way more than that first bag did. So this is what it looks like. It's very, here's a big clump. Is it, okay, it's just compacted pine bark, it looks like. There's pretty big mulch pieces in here, but again, it does feel pretty light. It actually feels lighter than the first one. So this is what the professional potting soil looks like. So this does have fertilizer in it. It is less than what's in the ProMix. I just turned over my bag of ProMix to look at it, And the ProMix has a 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, whereas this has 0.1, 0.08, 0.06. And this says it feeds up to 4 months on this bag, which I don't know if, I don't think I believe that. Especially since it seems like less fertilizer in it than the ProMix. And this bag was $4. I don't know that I would recommend this one. But again, if you needed just a little bit of potting soil, then yeah, why not? This would work. Especially if you wanted something with fertilizer in it, then yeah. Would I start seeds in this? Maybe. I would suggest sifting it maybe, or just going through it with your hands and picking out the larger chunks of bark. Because there are some pretty decently sized chunks in here. Now that's not to say that there's not chunks in ProMix, because I have picked out some pretty decently sized sticks out of ProMix before. But when I'm filling my pots, that's just part of what I do. I just, you know, take out the larger pieces. But you know, I am just kind of digging my hands through this bag and finding some larger pieces of mulch, and finding quite a few of them. So just keep that in mind. Now, I don't know how well this holds moisture. This is not the one that says it has the moisture crystals. So we're gonna move on to that one next, because I'm very curious what that means. This is container mix with moisture minder and fertilizer. This one is a 0.14, 0.11, 0.08 fertilizer. It is pretty much the same as the professional in terms of ingredients, but the water holding polymer crystals are called polyacrylamide copolymer. That is the scientific name on the bag for them. So let's open this up and see what it looks like. Now, I did not look at what the fertilizers in these potting soils are made of. So, okay, yeah, it looks like these are not derived from organic, natural sources. On the back of the bags, it says the fertilizer is derived from polymer-coated homogeneous ammonium phosphate, potassium sulfate, and potassium nitrate, and polymer-coated urea, monoammonium phosphate, and sulfate of potash. Okay, the ProMix, on the back of it is derived from kelp meal, and that's it. It's derived from kelp. So it is essentially a fish fertilizer in the ProMix, which is what makes it an organic potting soil. So just keep in mind that these are not organic potting soils. On first glance, this one also smells. It actually smells kind of chemically. I don't know if that maybe is the printing on the bag, but on first glance, it is in very large chunks. So I'm pulling this out, and this is what I'm getting. These big chunks of soil. Now, I can break them up pretty easy, but I don't know, you know, see, this is just a big chunk of soil. I can break them up though, so I'm not gonna discount it for that, because sometimes you get soil bags that have been kind of compacted. So let's break this up and get a handful out. So this is what it looks like. It looks similar to the professional potting mix. It is a little bit more dense. I'm assuming that's because of the water crystals that are in here. I saw a fertilizer bead in here. Yeah. This is the fertilizer. So this is a little green bead. I don't even know if you can see it, but it's green. So this will break down in the soil over time. It's basically a slow release fertilizer. So that's what's in this potting soil, is the slow release fertilizer beads, which for containers may be totally fine. I actually just bought some new hanging baskets, and I might use this in those just to kind of see what happens. It does say it's great for hanging baskets, containers, window boxes, and planters. And I think that's probably true. That sounds accurate to me. That is a situation where I would use a moisture control potting soil, because those things tend to dry out faster than, you know, like a raised bed or in ground, obviously. So those are my thoughts on the, oh, I forgot one. We're not done. I bought this. This is seed starting potting mix. This was $3.50 for 6 dry quarts. Now, what is this? This is Sphagnum Peat, horticultural vermiculite, perlite, wetting agent, and lime for pH balance. This is essentially seed starter, but it also says you can transplant. It says ideal for house plants, and I don't think that's true. If this, because this has no nutrition in it at all. Nothing in this will give plants any sort of nutrition. So that's what I'm concerned and confused about. Oh yeah, this is essentially just seed starter. This is not gonna have any sort of, I'm scared to even pick it up because it's windy out here and it's just gonna disappear. But this does not have any sort of anything in it. This is this is just seed starter. So I am now covered in it. If you like to use seed starter, then sure, why not? This was $3.50, and you could start plenty of seeds in this. I do not like to use seed starter because I tend to forget to fertilize my plants when they're seedlings, when they're babies, so I just use potting mix right off the bat that has some fertilizer built into it. But if you are a person that likes to use seed starter and is more responsible and remembers to fertilize their plants, then $3.50 for 6 dry quarts doesn't seem like a bad deal. But I don't know. I haven't bought seed starter in a long time. I am concerned as to why it says it has directions for transplants on the back, and I would not put transplants in that seed starter mix. They will not have any nutrition. You will have to either mix fertilizer into that seed starter, or you will have to liquid fertilizer those plants pretty often to keep them going, essentially. That is my little comparison of the potting soils available at Dollar General stores in the US. I am in Indiana. That's where I got all these potting soils. I'm assuming that these are widely available. I have seen other people from around the country have found these. So I just was very curious about them and what they actually looked like outside the bag. So I hope this was helpful. As my final thoughts, if you are someone that just needs like a couple pots worth of potting soil, then I would go with this, the professional potting mix with fertilizer. I would probably stay away from the container mix with I would stay away from this, just because it kind of smelled funny to me and it felt really like it would compact really easy. I am gonna use it, but I'm gonna doctor it up. For transplanting seedlings, I would go with the professional potting mix blend. If you just have a few seedlings you need to up pot. But otherwise, if you need a lot of potting soil, or you are someone that is maybe adding more pots or wants to do things organically or what have you, I very much will always suggest ProMix. I love ProMix. There are even more expensive potting soils out there, but like I said, I'm balling on a budget and I wasn't gonna go spend $20 on a bag of Fox Farms potting soil. So, for people, if you are like me, and I feel like many people are, Dollar General, pretty decent. I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I am going to use all of this just around. So, yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I spent $22 on all of this potting soil, plus I bought a half-gallon pressure pump sprayer thing for $6. So, all in all, I didn't spend that much money on, you know, quite a bit of potting soil. So I hope this was helpful and not confusing at all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.